Terry Brooks' Shannara novels are the most popular fantasy series in the history of anything, according to the New York Times. Is it any wonder that the property is being furiously worked into a computer game by Legend Entertainment, the company that brought you Deathgate from Margaret Wise and Tracy Hickman's fantasy book series last year? The game Shannara takes place in the middle of the 50-year stretch between the first two books, The Sword of Shannara and The Elfstones of Shannara. Shannara's designers are Laurie and Corey Cole, who are best known for their irreverent Quest for Glory series for Sierra. If adapting this epic fantasy series seems like a bit of a departure for the Coles, well, it is.
Now, in general, this is a contrast to our Quest for Glory games in that this is a serious high fantasy game, as opposed to Quest for Glory was kind of a mixture of high fantasy and humor. We've kept the bad puns out of this, and you really have a serious storyline that you're participating in.
The first Shannara book revolves around defeating Brona the Warlock King, who can only be killed with the Sword of Shannara, which can only be wielded by Shea Omsford, the last descendant of the Elven King Jurl Shannara. The game begins some 20 years later with Brona raised from the dead and Shea's son Jack having to play the hero this time.
Brona isn't stupid, so the first thing he does when he's raised from the ghost is he does a very powerful magical working that reaches across space to where they've set up the Sword of Shannara in a kind of a shrine in the city of Tircis and destroys it. What he does is he basically breaks it into multiple pieces so it can't be used against him.
And if you thought Brona was a jerk when he was alive, you ain't seen nothing yet.
The Warlock Lord is again seeking revenge upon all the people that stopped him the last time, plus he's once again trying to overthrow the world. The problem is this time he's dead, and so he doesn't care if anybody is alive because he can rule the dead now. So his goal is to destroy as many things of all living things so that he can rule over the entire world.
To defeat Brona this time, Jack is going to have to recreate the sword, and this is not just a matter of scraping together enough metal to fit in the forge.
Jack's quest is that he must go and gather all of the magic, a magic item that is representative of each of the races of man in the Four Lands, and he must find someone from each of those races who can help him to use that magic, and all of them together are needed in order to be able to reforge the sword.
While Shannara is primarily an adventure game, Jack will also have to lead a party in combat.
Basically, a custom screen comes up. We have a close-up of the monster you're currently facing in the center of it, and you can see the other monsters in the battle. You can see your other party members. And each of your party members acts on their own initiative and does what's appropriate to their character, whether it's fighting or defending or using magic. When it comes around to Jack's turn, it's the player's turn, he can give orders to the other characters because he is the leader, and can also then act on his own.
So it becomes much more of a tactical strategy kind of a battle game, so that you can plan your moves and plan what you think the other character should do. And for the most part, they'll follow orders, but every once in a while they have a mind of their own, and they will not necessarily always take your orders if they think it's wrong for them.
To help the player keep up with the story, Jack busily keeps a journal that can be read at any time.
As you play through the game and perform important accomplishments, we automatically add in journal entries that cover the most important conversations and actions that happen. So later in the game, the player does not have to keep notes on a piece of paper and go back and say, well, let's see, what did I do back then? You can refer back to the journal at any point, flip through it, look at any of the past entries, remind yourself of what has gone on before, and in addition, the player can add to the journal.
As with Deathgate, Shannara will have dazzling visuals and exciting music to back up its strong story.
This is by far the most ambitious game that Legends attempted. I think we have 2 or 3 times the budget of any of their previous efforts, and we're up, basically Sierra numbers for budget, hopefully used more efficiently than Sierra managed to use them even. So we have a lot of 3D sequences in it. We have opening and ending sequences and cutscenes throughout, plus the combat are all done in 3D. We're using the Fat Man and Team Fat to compose the music for it.
While Shannara will certainly appeal to Terry Brooks fans, special care has been taken to assure that players don't have to be at all familiar with the novels to enjoy the game.
You do not need to read the books to play this game. It is very enjoyable on its own merits. If you have read the first book in the series, The Sword of Shannara, that will add another level of dimension to it. In fact, if you've read the later books, you'll be able to pick up some of the references in here and sort of smile knowing the way they actually are going to turn out. But of course, the characters in the books haven't had the benefit of seeing the future, so they do quite fine without knowing that.